Well, a very, very happy Monday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Glad you could join me. Man, what a weekend in the world of sports. On the field, off the field. We got the baseball winter meetings getting underway yesterday in Las Vegas, and we do have some news regarding the Padres that I'm going to get to here in just a minute. But before we get rolling, I want to get the business out of the way. If you're tuning in for the very first time, or you've been tuning in for a while, would certainly appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel, like it, share it, and please tell a friend. And if you'd like to help support the channel financially, you can be a member of our Gold Glove package for $2.99 a month. So that's the business aspect of it. Again, we're live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And we'll have 3 shows this weekend. This 3 shows next week, and then we'll take a hiatus until January 5th. So we'll have shows the next 2 weeks, and then we'll take a couple of weeks off. A lot of things going on. I have several college basketball games to broadcast. I've got my involvement with the Holiday Bowl, and then we'll come back and be ready leading up to spring training. So a lot to cover. We're going to get in today to the college football playoffs. We'll give me your thoughts on that in Coach's Crew. But we're going to start off with baseball. You know, we talk a lot about our Padres, and deservedly so. It's the one thing that I think everybody in San Diego follows. Not everybody follows soccer, even though I do. But we try to, keep you up to date with what's going on with the Padres. And I got to mention the holiday happy hour. We had a great turnout considering what took place at Del Mar Heights on the overpass. We had several people unable to get there. We had some people that braved it and sat in traffic for 4 hours to come to our holiday happy hour party at the Leucadian on Friday. One of them was AJ Preller, the president of baseball operations and general manager of the Padres. He hung in the traffic for better part of 2 hours. And you know what? I got to hand it to AJ. And I really need to text him. We had a great conversation, but he couldn't stay a real long time. I mean, he didn't even have to come. He told me he was going to come. He was a man of his word. And he sat in traffic for about 2.5 hours, got to the party, spent time talking with people, taking pictures, was fantastic. Told him, hey, as soon as you get that contract extension, man, you're on the show. He goes, no problem, coach. I go, hey, I told my listeners, AJ, I'm not putting you on to ask you, hey, when are you going to get your contract extension? We had a great conversation, but he then, after sitting 2.5 hours in traffic and then making a stop at the Leucadian just because he promised me he would show up, he had to get into a car and drive to LAX on Friday night to catch a red eye to get to Orlando, Florida. He wanted to get there and start kind of getting the ball rolling on Saturday morning, a day before. So the guy's always working. Guy's always working, but I appreciate him, and I appreciate all you wonderful people that came out. We had a great time, and I could go on and on and on. Hacksaw didn't make it. Hacksaw was so bent out of shape, I can't begin to tell you. He sent me a text late on Friday night. He was so irritated because he would come the 56 and he wasn't able to get through. And there were a lot of people. I know a ton of people uh, from all parts of the county that had to come up, the 5, and they couldn't get there. There was even a big bumper to bumper traffic jam going through Rancho Santa Fe on Friday night. So the people that couldn't get there and tried, I certainly appreciate it. I'm sorry you missed it. It was a fun party, a lot of great people. And next year's party, write it down right now. Write the date down. It will be Friday, December 4th at the Leucadian. It's always the first Friday in December. I know it works for some people. It doesn't work for others. We had a great tribute to Bryce Miller and Scott Miller. Myself and Jay Paris got up there and sang the praises of our two fallen comrades. And I was very happy that Kim Miller, Scott's widow, was able to make an appearance, show up. I had this nice picture, compliments of Ryan Finley and John Maffey from the Union Tribune. It was amazing when Bryce had passed away on the front page of the paper of the sports section. It was a picture of Bryce Miller, who had passed away, and Scott Miller, who eventually passed away. So I had it blown up. After Ryan Finley sent it to John Maffey, and John Maffey sent it to me, I had it blown up. My youngest daughter got it taken care of, put it in a frame, and we had it at the get together the other night. So we were able to talk about our fallen colleagues and unbelievably great guys. And all of you folks that are tuning in, you know who these guys were. These guys were loyal to me and to a lot of other talk shows, not only here in San Diego, but nationally. So I wanted to get that out. Okay, we're going to start with Padre news. And I'll be honest with you, up until about 10 minutes before we went on the air, I'm going, wow, what am I going to talk about baseball wise? The winter meetings are just getting underway. I talked with AJ the other night, but we didn't get into talking about who you're looking to acquire, who you want to sign. We didn't get into that. It was just a lot of fun talk and, just exchanging pleasantries. But it came down, and Dennis Lynn, who we know is a very good and honest writer for The Athletic, put out a little news that the Padres right now are taking offers. They're listening to offers right now on Nick Pivetta and Jake Cronenworth. Now, Cronenworth, I totally get. Okay, you're going to have to pay him 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, $12 million annually. Okay, to me, that doesn't make sense. I mean, Cronenworth's numbers 246, 11 homers, 59 RBIs. And he comes up with a lot of guys on base. And I know he plays a good, solid infield. He can play second, he can play first. If you needed, he could fill in briefly at shortstop. But you know what? I think you can get a guy for a lot less than that and get just as much out of them. And I know the Crone Zone and all that, and I know people would be disappointed because we have an attachment to players here in San Diego. And Cronenworth's a nice player, but he's not a star player. I know he's been to a couple of All-Star games, but I think we've seen the best of Jake Cronenworth. Maybe a change of scenery would help him. It would certainly help free up a little bit money for the Padres. Now, the real shocker this morning that Dennis Lynn put out is the Padres are listening to offers on Nick Pivetta. Now, let me tell you, when I first saw this, I'm going, man, they already need pitching. You're not going to trade Pivetta. But I'm going to tell you what, folks, this may happen. And I'm going to tell you why it would happen. Because Pivetta last year, he got a $3 million signing bonus. And he pitched for $1 million. So he made $4 million from the Padres last year. When the Padres signed him, they signed him to a 4-year, $55 million deal. Now, we know the Padres are trying to be sold. We don't know when that's going to come. But again, they want to make the ledger look a lot better to a prospective owner. Now, you take a look at Pivetta's contract. This coming year, he will go from making $1 million in salary after the $3 million he made, a total of $4 million. He'll go up to $19 million this year. In 2027, $14 million, and in 2028, $18 million. Now, here's the kicker. This is why he could be traded. Because after this year, he can opt out of his deal. And if he has another year like he had this past year, which, by the way, was the best year he's ever had in the big leagues, he went 13-5, a 2.87 ERA, and a WHIP of 0.99. Got Cy Young votes, 181 and 2/3 innings, 32 years of age. And if he has a good year this year at making $19 million, and maybe the Padres don't want to pay the $19 million this year, but after this year, he could walk away and the Padres could get nothing. So to me, you can't allow this guy to walk away. Now, at least with Cease and with Michael King, because you gave them qualifying offers, you're going to get a draft pick. Now, the draft pick's going to be after the 4th round. But least of all, you're getting something. But if Pivetta has a good year and he opts out, and I would imagine he would, if you're making 19, you don't want to go back and make 14, especially as you're getting longer in the tooth. You only got so many bullets in that arm. So I think it's probably a smart move for the Padres to see what they can get for Nick Pivetta. And if they get something that they like, then they got to move on it. That's what I think. And I keep hearing the ownership and Eric Group, oh, we're talking about championships. We're talking about championships. Well, unless you go out and get a couple of real shooters on the mound, you're not going to win a championship. You think you're going to win a championship with J.P. Sears and Randy Vasquez? And I don't want to dog these guys. These are major league pitchers. But they're not guys that are going to shut anybody down for a long period of time, let alone a playoff run. And, you got Nick Pivetta. He's your guy. Joe Musgrove, if healthy, can get people out. Joe's got 2 more years on his deal. And he's making $20 million a year. But he'll be on an innings restriction. So that's what I got for you right now. And Cronenworth, I would move him if I could. I would have moved him each of the last couple of off seasons. But you got to figure out who's going to be your guy filling in. Will Wagner's a possibility. I kind of like what I saw out of Will Wagner. Now, defensively, I didn't see a whole lot out of him because he mostly was a pinch hitter. And, I think the guy's a big league ball player. Whereas an everyday guy, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. But if they traded Pivetta, I could see it. They want to free up a little money. But are they going to free that money up and then go get something? Is that going to give AJ an opportunity to go get somebody? I mean, think about it. Last year, Padres didn't spend a lot of free agent money. They got Nick Pivetta, but they got him at a bargain rate. So I don't know where this ownership is. I don't know what AJ has available to where he can go out and really do something dynamic. That's why we're hearing about Cronenworth and why we're hearing about Pivetta. And 2 weeks ago, we heard that maybe they're going to trade Fernando Tatis Jr. Who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe there'll be a blockbuster. We have no idea right now. But give me your thoughts on that. But I will tell you this. When you look through the tea leaves, it may make sense to trade Pivetta if you can get something for him. Because after this year, you may get nothing. Nothing. And I don't think the Padres can afford to get nothing after already losing Cease and Michael King. So give me your take on that. Get those questions up and running. We're going to get out to you very shortly. Okay, we talked about it on Friday. And there were a lot of great candidates. And there's guys on there that were Hall of Famers before they were implicated, I'll say, in PEDs. All right? Bonds, Clemens, Gary Sheffield, who else? I don't know. Okay, all those guys were implicated. Probably Bonds and Clemens more than Sheffield, but none of them were ever suspended. Okay, so I want to make sure that's clear. But the only guy that got voted in this weekend, and I told you on Friday, I think this guy was a Hall of Famer and should have been in. 377 career homers, 290 career average, 351 homers as a second baseman, which was an all-time record. And Jeff Kent. I mean, he wasn't a Gold Glove guy, but I don't ever remember him making an error to lose a ball game when I watched. And I watched Jeff Kent play a lot of baseball over 17 years. And Jeff Kent got voted in. He got 14 of the possible 16 votes. You needed 12. Carlos Delgado surprisingly got 9. Good player, but I think for me, probably a little bit short of being a Hall of Famer, but he got 9. So there's obviously people out there that like him. Now, 2 guys that I thought would not necessarily get in. I thought Mattingly might get in this time, but Dale Murphy probably not going to get in. Both Mattingly and Murphy got 6 votes. Okay, so Delgado, Mattingly, Dale Murphy, all 3 are eligible not be nominated again with the contemporary era, and that'll be in 2028. So they got another opportunity. And then you got Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Gary Sheffield, and Fernando Valenzuela. All 4 of them got less than 5 votes. So what does that mean? Well, they received less than 5 votes. Next eligible now for all four of them is 2031. And if they receive less than 5 votes there, then they're off the ballot forever. Okay, if they get more than five, they'll stay around. But if they get less than 5 votes in 2031, they're done the way it is now. But we'll wait and see. I really thought Bonds and um, Clements may get a little more support. So that's what we have for that. Okay, we're going to get in after Coach's Crew. We're going to get into the college football playoffs, and we'll talk about the matchup in the Holiday Bowl. We'll talk about the Aztecs headed to the New Mexico Bowl, and then we'll get to our coach's mailbag from last week. But let's get out right now and get to some of the coach's crew. What do you think, folks? What do you think about Pivetta and Cronenworth? Padres taking offers on them right now. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. All right. Oh man, thank you very much. Happy holidays, man. I very much appreciate that. It's very kind. Coach, I love what A-Rod has on his YouTube showing his hitting drills and approach for the game. The postseason made me think about you during the week explaining situational baseball scenarios. Matt, you know what? Um, Alex Rodriguez, a lot of his thoughts are my thoughts. I mean, I've watched a lot of his stuff. I think you got good, solid fundamentals working with hitters. I think it's really, really good stuff. There's a lot, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot on the internet that just infuriates me. There's a guy named Teacher Man. I guess he worked once upon a time with Aaron Judge. I don't know if he still works with Aaron Judge or not. If you try to hit like Aaron Judge, you're probably going to hit a lot of high fly balls. Aaron Judge, 6'7", 285, 290 pounds, and he can launch a baseball. Most hitters, you got to get on top of the baseball, get a little backspin on it, and it'll go out of the ballpark. But I got to tell you, there are a lot of stuff on the internet. If little league coaches, pony league coaches, are trying to emulate what's being taught there, you better take a good hard look at what you're looking at, and talk to somebody that's been around and knows the game, because a lot of the things out there that are on the internet right now really do young ball players a really, really big disservice. But I agree with you. A-Rod's got a lot of good stuff. I've listened to a lot of his stuff, and I'm not a guy. I learned how to hit. I had some really good guys. I mean, I played for a guy named Frank Chambliss. His brother played 17 years in the big leagues. Chris Chambliss, Craig Scoggins at Torrey Pines, John Seeley at Maricosta taught me a lot. Thad Bosley, the old big leaguer. Thad worked a lot with me when I was in junior college to work with me on my hitting. And then, I was around, Merv Rettenman for years, but, I went to coaching clinics. Ben Hines, I learned a lot from up there at Laverne. And I just read a lot. And you know what? The one thing about working with hitters, Matt, I talk about this all the time. Every hitter's different. And you can't clone the same with every hitter. That's a big deal. Dave Garcia, the old manager, Greg Garcia's grandfather, who was in professional baseball for 70 years. I remember one night I talked with Dave all the time. We sat together for years and years at Qualcomm, and then it was a little bit different when we got to Petco Park, but I would still talk with Dave a lot prior to ball games. And he taught me a lot about hitting as well. I mean, he had guys like Orlando Cepeda, Willie McCovey, Jim Ray Hart down in the minor leagues, and we talked about hitting philosophy. And so I've learned some really good people, and I definitely have my thoughts on it, but I'm not a guy that's going to teach the launch angle. I can tell you that. There's no way, shape, or form I'm going to teach a launch angle, because 95% of the kids that I would teach that to, I would be doing a disservice. And that's why I think you got to really, really be careful when you're watching things on the internet of what's being taught, or what people are attempting to teach out there. My job is to make ball players better, and I got to, depending on the size, the strength, the athletic ability, I've got to work with that athlete and do what's best for that athlete long term. All right. Thank you very much, man. I very much appreciate that. Super. That's very kind of you, and a happy holiday to you and the family. All right. Let's keep them moving. Hey, if you're just tuning in, the big news. Dennis Lynn from The Athletic reporting the Padres are listening on offers for Nick Pivetta and Jake Cronenworth. Rome, this is the hidden cost of a team sale, cutting payroll. Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to make it look good. Maybe that's why they're not giving AJ his contract extension. I mean, they gave Eric Grupner a contract extension for 2029. Well, I got news for you. I know Eric Grupner does a lot of great things down there, but you know what? If you're not winning baseball games, you're not putting 43,500 or more in the ballpark Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, let alone on the weekends. So I would think that they better get AJ signed up because you know what? I think it's very unfair for AJ Preller to have to show up in Peoria opening day of spring training, and that's going to be the question. Where are you at with the contract extension? Hell, 6 weeks ago. I need to go back and look at that today. I got to go back to the archives of the Union Tribune. Normally I keep a lot of those papers, but after a period of time I discard them. There was a said Preller extension coming or impending Preller contract extension. Hey, we're working our way towards Christmas, and I know there's plenty of time, and maybe it'll happen during the winter meeting. Maybe that'll be a big story of the winter meetings that AJ Preller gets a contract extension. And like I said, I can't imagine AJ asking for the moon. I mean, he wants to be paid fairly. And he should be paid fairly. And we can talk about his failures back in, 2015 to 2019. But you know what? That's over and done with. Right now, the proof's in the pudding. They've won playoff spots for the last 6 years. His contract's up. You can't send the man to spring training as a lame duck general man. That makes no sense at all. No sense at all. I got news for you. There are a lot of organizations that like to have AJ Preller. AJ Preller's, I think, a good guy, and he's a damn good evaluator of talent. You know the other thing about AJ? He sneaks around the ballparks. He wears his little bucket hat and, wears his shorts and wanders around. And half the time, people don't even know he's at the ballpark, but he's bearing down. He gets out to a lot of stuff that people have no idea that he's there. That's a good scout, man. Real good scout. All right, Rome, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I totally agree with you. Cutting the payroll. That's definitely going to happen when you're trying to make a sale. Divine Sports Gospel. Good people right there. They're doing a crack up job. Coach, what's your thoughts on Yandy Diaz trade? Well, Yandy Diaz, I'd love to have him. Not sure what you're going to have to give up for him, but I think he's a heck of a ball player. Young, man, the dude can hit. I would try to put together a package. He's very affordable at this point in time. I like him. I think that would be a good deal. I would have no problem with that whatsoever. Again, maybe you can move Cronenworth. I think they take Cronenworth. They may. They know enough about him. That's for sure. Divine Gospel, Sports Gospel, continue all your good work. I enjoy following you. Very good job. Okay, Isabella. Hi, Coach. I heard ESPN Buster Olney heard that executives said that they won't be a lot of moves during the winter meetings because of the lockout. I disagree with that. I think there'll be moves. I think people may not want to take on long-term contracts. I think that's a big one right there. I really do, and I think most of you have heard me say I think there's going to be a lockout. I think the owners are going to lock out the players during the winter. I think next December, when the collective bargaining agreement is up, if they don't have something in place or moving in a positive manner to get something in place, then I think the owners will lock out the Players Association. What the players have now, they're not giving up. They're not going to give up. It's that simple. They're not going to give up what they have, and they do not want a salary cap. And the owners, from what I've been told, are going to dig their heels in with Rob Manfred, and they're going to force a salary cap. It's going to be very interesting. We may not see baseball in 2027. We may be watching. That's why I've been saying the executives of these TV stations need ESPN, Fox. They need to start talking to Nippon Professional Baseball League, Japan, and the KBO, and we can get some ball on. I'll be honest with you, I don't see us starting on time. I think spring training will start late. I think the regular season will start late, and I would hope that we're going to have some type of baseball in 2027, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath. I don't think there's a lot of love lost between Rob Manfred and Tony Clark. I'm not a Manfred guy. I understand from the owner's point that they'd like to have a salary cap. I think it would help out a lot of teams in baseball. But on the other hand, I also think there are a lot of teams in baseball that need to start spending more money. I think you got to be more competitive, and not every owner wants to win. It's that simple. I didn't want to believe that, but it's true. All the years that I've been in sports broadcasting, I've seen it. I've seen it. Some owners just want to win enough to keep their fan base interested to where they'll re-up with season tickets, come to the ballpark, buy merchandise, buy concessions, pay for parking, but they really don't want to win because when you win, it actually costs you more money. Players want more money. Everybody wants more money when you win. But at the end of the day, I heard Joe Musgrove last week say, if we get sold, I hope we get an owner in here that's not worried about making money. They're more concerned about winning a championship and putting a first class ball club on the field. And that's what I think. You got to have somebody that's made their money. They don't want to lose a ton of money, but they don't want to use this as a cash cow either. And that's what we need. We need somebody, you know, I wish I knew somebody. I wish I had the money. I really do. I would love to own a ball club, or I'd love running a ball club, but I just don't. And those days have passed me by as far as running a ball club. I mean, I would love to have been a major league manager. That's kind of what my goal was. That's what Al Kupski from the Kansas City Royals kind of had a vision for when I was a young coach. And then, life took some left turns and right turns, and I ended up in broadcasting by accident. But it's been great. I'm still around the game all the time. I know people in the game. I study the game, continue, but man, nothing better than working with a guy, taking a drop step on a fly ball or teaching him how to field the ground ball properly, or working with a guy on his hitting, or teaching a guy a new pitch down in the bullpen. That's great stuff. I love that. And that's what I think I was really good at. But hey, my life took a different course. And I'm very happy with my life. I got 6 grandkids. Everybody's healthy. I'm healthy for the most part, doing well. Few IL stints here and there, but overall doing well. Wife's doing great. But I'll tell you what, the ownership going to be very key. But getting back to trades, they're going to be trades. But I don't think they're going to be the trades where you're going to have a big money guy going to another ball club, because I don't think a lot of these organizations want to do that at this point in time. But again, remember, if they're not playing, they're not getting paid. You got to play to get paid. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm going to look forward to. I'm going to watch that football game tonight. We got the Eagles coming in to take the LA Chargers. Bill Werndell, my man, Bill Werndell's up in LA tonight. Going to be the spotter for Merrill Reese on the radio. So, Billy, if you're tuned in, I know he's not. He didn't even have an email. Can you believe Bill Werndell to this day still does not have an email? I think he's still got a flip phone. But hey, that's what it is. Okay, what else we got here? All right, big Steve Tejas. Here's a hell of a guy right here. Hi, coach. We do need to move Crony. We need more than just pitching. Who's going to play first and second when we move Crony? Steve, that's a great question. We have to move. We want to save $60 million over the next 5 years. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of money nowadays, but hey, when you're the Padres, that's a lot of money when you need some starting pitching. If you can move that money, it's going to behoove you to go out and find a couple of pitchers. And again, they may move Pivetta. If you're tuning in late, Dennis Lin is reporting that the Padres are taking not necessarily offers, but they're listening to teams on Nick Pivetta and on Jake Cronenworth. I don't know. I think you could find some guys that could play the right side. I think you could re-sign Ryan O'Hearn, give him a 2-year deal, $24 million to play first, left-hand hitter. Yeah, I think you're going to probably sign him before you're going to sign a Rise because you want the power aspect at first base. And I think O'Hearn's probably a little bit better at first base than Arise. Even though Luis worked really hard, I think has made himself a much better first baseman than he was earlier in the year. Second base, I don't know. Will Wagner get a shot? Probably have to go out and sign a bargain basement free agent. They could come in and maybe ends up being a platoon. Will Wagner's a left-hand hitter. Get a young guy that can play second and hit right-handed. Maybe mix and match a little bit. You're going to have to spend most of your money on pitching, though, Steve. I mean, it's that simple. But if they could move Cronenworth, that would certainly help matters. I think that would really help matters a great deal. Thank you very much, and happy holidays, my friend. Hope to see you down here in North County one of these days. All right, Teardrop. Hey, Coach, question. If Hall of Fame aren't worthy of getting selected the first or second time, what makes them worthy of getting second, third, or fourth time? I agree with you. I have no answer. You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not a Hall of Famer, the way I look at it. But I know they only let X amount of guys in. But you know what? You could vote for these guys. There was like no limit that you couldn't vote that I'm aware of. And less than 5 guys voted for Bonds, Clemens, Valenzuela, and Sheffield. But I agree. You're either first ballot Hall of Famer or you're not, But I don't know how to explain that. Uh, there's guys like we talked about it Friday. I think if you look at Steve Garvey, now Garvey didn't hit a million home runs like a lot of first basemen, but Garvey had a hell of a career between what he did with the Dodgers, what he did with the Padres. But look at Garvey. Don't just look at his regular season. He put up some big numbers in the regular season. Look at what he did in the postseason. I have never, ever in my life seen the numbers of a postseason player like Steve Garvey. His numbers are out of sight. In like every, division series, championship series, World Series, All-Star games. Guy had an incredible career. And, I know towards the end of it, he had some off-field situations with females, not to where, domestic violence type, but, he was kind of, spend time with different ladies at that point in time. But I think that a lot of people have held that against him. But I think Steve Garvey's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. So it is what it is. But that's my case. You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not a Hall of Famer. Dale Murphy, I think he comes up short. Mattingly, for me, probably comes up short. Even though Mattingly's numbers were really good. I think he comes up just a little bit short. I think he had 222 home runs. That's great. Uh, he hit over 300. I mean, if Mattingly went into the Hall of Fame, I would not sit here, bitch, moan, and complain. Because I think he was a Hall of Fame guy. Unfortunately, he had to play last 5 or 6 years with a really bad back, and it really robbed him of a lot of power numbers, especially at Yankee Stadium. That's my take on that. But when I look at a guy as a Hall of Famer, yes or no. That's the way I look at it. But again, I don't vote. A guy that we could talk to one of these days is John Maffey. John's great. John votes on the Baseball Hall of Fame. He also every year has a vote on, whether it's the MVP or the Cy Young Rookie of the Year because, he's one of the big wigs with the Baseball Writers Association. What else we got? What else we got here? Got anything else? Okay, we got to get to college football playoffs. Okay, and this is great. I spent a lot of time looking at this yesterday. Now, college football playoff 12-team field. If you missed it, Indiana won, Ohio State 2. Whoa, what a great game that was! How do you like to be that field goal kicker for Ohio State? Oh my, unbelievable! But Ryan Day had an opportunity earlier in the game to try to kick a game-tying field goal and chose not to, and they didn't make it. That's when they ruled Julian Sand down by his knee, which was a good call. They had to review it, though. But Indiana ends up hanging on by 3. So they're number 1 seed. Ohio State, number 2. Georgia, 3. Boy, they took care of Alabama pretty good. And my Red Raiders, get your guns up. Coach baseball at Texas Tech. Great school, great people down there in West Texas. Lubbock's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Home of Buddy Holly, I might add. They're 12-1. The Red Raiders got a hell of a ball club. They got a hell of a sports program down there, and they got a lot of dudes that are funneling NIL money in there. But nonetheless, they're good people down there. My time down there at Texas Tech was fantastic. Of course, the year I was there, we set the school record for wins, so I was pretty happy about that. But so the top 4, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech. The next 4, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. Rounding out the top 12, Alabama, Miami, Tulane, and James Madison. Both Tulane, James Madison, group of 5. Notre Dame left out. And I'm going to tell you my take on Notre Dame. First of all, they won 10 straight. The best win they had was against USC at home, 34-24. They played a very weak schedule, in my opinion. They lost to the 2 best teams they played. They lost to Miami 27-24, and they lost at home to Texas A&M 41-40. So they lost 2 games, which were their first 2 by a total of 4 points. But they also, and I went back and did this morning just because I know people are been out of shape that they're backing out of the Pop-Tart Bowl. They could have played BYU in the Pop-Tart Bowl, but they said, well, a bunch of guys, they don't want to play. They don't want to give ESPN the ratings, the money. They think ESPN and the SEC are all against them, which I don't know if that's true or not. But, I'm disappointed Notre Dame's not going to play. They got some damn good players. Now, I realize a guy like Jeremiah Love and some of their seniors or guys that are eligible for the draft are not going to want to play. I totally get that. I totally get that. But here's Notre Dame's schedule, and I'll let you decide. And you can, give me a take on our coach's mailbag, and we'll get to it on Wednesday. But okay, they lost at Miami 27-24. They lost at home to Texas A&M 41-40, and then they beat Purdue 56-30. Purdue was 2-10, and they were 18th place in the Big Ten. Terrible team. At Arkansas, their coach got fired. They beat Arkansas 56-13. Arkansas finished 2-10, 16th in the SEC. Boise State, they won at home 28-7. Of course, Boise State really looked good the other night against UNLV, winning the Mountain West Conference Championship. Boise State ended up 9-4. Then they beat North Carolina State 36-7. North Carolina State 7-5, 7th in the ACC. Beat USC. SC finished 4th in the Big Ten with a 9-3 record. That's probably their best win, without a doubt, their best win. At Boston College, they won 25-10. Boston College, 16th in the ACC, a 2-10 record. They beat Navy 49-10. They beat Navy every year, even though Navy's 9-2 in first place in the American Division. Then they had a key game at Pittsburgh against number 22 Pittsburgh. They won 37-15. Pittsburgh finished second in the ACC, 8-4 record, and then they pounded Syracuse at home 70-7. Syracuse 3-9 and 16th in the ACC, and then they came out west, beat Stanford 49-20. Stanford finished 12th in the ACC and 4-8 overall. So the schedule wasn't great. They want to take their ball and go home. That's their prerogative. Pete Mavakwa, their athletic director, totally irritated, called it a farce. Whatever. Okay. It's going to happen. I mean, was Notre Dame one of the top 12 teams in the country? Absolutely, they were. Should they have gotten in over Alabama? Not in my eyes. Alabama is more talented than Notre Dame. And I know they lost to Florida State earlier in the year, but they also had maybe the best win of anybody all year long, and that was going to Georgia and winning, even though Georgia beat them the other day in the SEC championship game. But they went to Athens and beat Georgia earlier in the year. And that may have been the best win of the year. Some people may say, well, Indiana, the the best win of the year was the other night against Ohio State. And I can't argue that either. But that also was a pretty good home crowd there at the Hoosier Dome, I believe they played. So they had a pretty good Indiana crew there. No, of course, Ohio State still had their fans. But here's my take on Notre Dame backing out. Notre Dame makes a lot of money. Notre Dame's not going to join a conference. I remember as a kid, I go, how come Notre Dame's not in the conference? Why aren't they in the Big Ten? Everybody used to think when I was a little kid back in the 60s that Notre Dame was actually in the Big Ten because they played so many Big Ten schools, but they weren't. And I was told they'll never be in a conference because they make so much money being an independent, and they still are with NBC. And I get that, and I get their frustration. But it really was a bad look for college football with Notre Dame pulling out yesterday. And that's why the Holiday Bowl had to wait an extra 3 hours. Everybody's trying to sort out who was playing, who wasn't playing. Kansas State and Iowa State. And I get why they bailed out. And it's hard for me to criticize them because they've got a lot of things they're having to navigate. They both lost their head coaches. Now, both of them schools have gotten a new head coach, but you don't have the assistants. You got assistants leaving. You can't put together a coaching staff. And then you're going to have to deal with the guys in the transfer portal. Everybody's every man for himself at Iowa State and Kansas State right now. So I understood that to a degree. Baylor, I don't understand at all. Baylor, they came out, Dave Aranda, their football coach, who I think is still there because they didn't want to pay him his big buyout. He said, well, we're too far into our off-season program. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're too far in? The season just ended a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and you're too far into the off-season program? I got news for you. The only way you get better at football is by playing football. And even if Baylor has a few guys bail out, who cares? Who cares? Get the younger guys extra practice, get them out there, and get playing in a bowl game. I'll tell you this, and I know Notre Dame's players and everybody, they comes out in the media, oh, they voted against not playing. The seniors said they didn't want to play. I wonder what they're going to think either today, tomorrow, or when they're sitting in their dorm room or at their home with their folks over the holidays going, man, I wish I was playing. Wish I was playing. But they said at Notre Dame, the players, the seniors, and the coaches, and the administrators, they didn't want to play. So take your ball and go home. And is that the way it's going to be going forward? Whenever a team gets snubbed or they think they got snubbed, that they're going to take their ball and go home? And furthermore, I don't know how good Miami is. Miami didn't play a great schedule either. But you know what? I'm an old school guy. They won the game against Notre Dame. I don't care if it was in week 1, week 0, or week 28. They won the game. I'm a head-to-head guy. They won the game. You could say, well, Notre Dame, their quarterback, he was young. Well, that's great. Why does Notre Dame even need to have a freshman quarterback? That guy's good. C.J. Carter's a hell of a player. But why does Notre Dame, you'd think Notre Dame would have some stud back there that's a junior or senior and up for the Heisman Trophy. So I don't want to hear excuse, well, the quarterback was young. It was the first game of the year. I don't care. It all counts. And we always talk about it in baseball. At the end of the year, how many you have in the left column? How many you have in the right column? Both teams were 10-2, and the team that won head-to-head got the nod over the team that got beat by a field goal in week 1. It's that simple. And BYU, Kalani Sitake, they got worked over. They got totally worked by Texas Tech. By the way, for the second time, Texas Tech just rolled over the BYU ball club. But you know what? They're going to show up and play in the Pop-Tart Bowl. And Notre Dame decided, nah, we're done. That's a bad look. It's a bad look for Notre Dame. It's an arrogant look for Notre Dame. And I like Notre Dame, man. I was a big Ara Parseghian fan. Okay, I used to think Notre Dame walked on water. You know, I was a kid growing up, man. My dad told me stories about Newt Rockne and Frank Leahy. And then, of course, I was, still old enough to remember Ara Parseghian and Terry Hanratty and Nick Eddy and all those guys. But it's a bad look for Notre Dame. It really is. And as far as Iowa State, Kansas State, they're in disarray. Even though they hired good coaches, they're trying to put their staff. Other guys are going out the door. Other guys are trying to get in the door. And I get that, but I don't get Baylor. And I really don't get Baylor and Notre Dame. And that's my take on it. Now, the exciting part is the Aztecs are going bowling, and it's the New Mexico Bowl. And I know they were just down in New Mexico, and their kids are probably going, oh, we're going back to New Mexico. I got news for you. Couple of things. Number one, the food's going to be great, and you're going to be treated really well. They do a hell of a job down there in Albuquerque. This is a big deal for the folks in Albuquerque. And I think they do a really, really good job. The game is going to be on Saturday, December 27th. I think it's going to kick off our time at 2:45, playing a really good opponent, a team that came in 25th in the college football rankings, the North Texas Mean Green. And on their stadium in Denton, Texas, I've been by there because when I was at Texas Tech years ago, we played North Texas. But in their football stadium, when you go by, it says Mean Green. That's where Joe Green did go to school, believe it or not. It's kind of funny, but that's where Mean Joe Green went. They're a good football team. They're 11-2, and they'll give the Aztecs all they can handle. Aztecs 9-3, going bowling for the first time since the 22 season, I believe. Missed the bowls last couple of years, and I don't know if you heard, but Aztecs lost their defensive coordinator, Rob Arich. Got a nice 3-year deal to go in to work with Matt Rule at the University of Nebraska. Aztec defense is legit, very legit. So Rob Arich doing a great job here. Gets a 3-year contract to go help the Cornhuskers. So not sure he'll be here for the bowl game. That hasn't been decided yet. I'm sure we're going to find out more about that today. And Aztec's going to be looking for a DC. And then the thing that I'm really excited about is the new sponsor for the Holiday Bowl, Trust and Will. The Trust and Will Holiday Bowl. That was announced at about 9:30 yesterday. I thought we were going to have an announcement on the Holiday Bowl participants shortly after 10, and it went on and on and on. And I don't know. I think I got that email at around 1 o'clock, and I was getting so frustrated. But what a matchup. You know what, folks? I'll be very honest with you. I don't know how much the tickets are. I think they start at $50. We need this bowl game to stay in Sandy. This is a fun bowl game. It's a bowl game that I look forward to each and every year. We need to support it. Once upon a time, we used to get over 50,000 folks to these bowl games in San Diego. We gotta fill that Snapdragon Stadium. $50. A couple of buddies go out there, take your family, have a little tailgate. Hopefully, it's not too rainy that day. Hope it's not rainy at all, and go out and have a great time. And it's January 2nd. This will be the first time ever that the Holiday Bowl has been in January. And I think it'd be a fun time for a family member. Go out there and tailgate. If you've never been to Snapdragon, I know Arizona will bring a crew. I would think SMU would bring a great crew. A lot of Arizona alums here in San Diego. Arizona coming in 17th in the country at 9-3. Brent Brennan, great coach. SMU 8-4. Going to be January 2nd, 5 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium. I'm fired up for this game. I don't, like last year's, we had with Syracuse, Washington State. Washington State, their coach wasn't there. A bunch of their players bailed out. Syracuse rolled over them. Man, Syracuse had a rough year. They went 3-9. I thought Fran Brown, good coach, but man, you got to get some better players in there. They didn't really have much this year offensively or defensively. They had a really rough year. But anyways, support the Holiday Bowl. Please support the Holiday Bowl, the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl. A nice little ring to it. I'll look forward to being there. Hopefully, I'll see you there. Okay, let's get to our coach's mailbag today. See what we got here. All right. From what I understand, insiders say the Padres are highest on the Mets prospects, and if a trade were to go down, that's the likely destination. Very well could be. I'm sure the Mets would love to get Nick Pivetta. Uh, you can get Luis Angel, Acuna, Ronald Acuna's brother. They've Mets got quite a few guys. What about Ronnie Mauricio, guy they've been waiting on? He's a good-looking athlete. Got a lot of swing and miss, but boy, he looks like a pretty good ball player to me. Jeff McNeil's available. He'd probably making a little too much money. Padres will probably want to take his contract on. But you know what, Ron, it's going to be interesting the next couple of days. I'm really anxious to hear what's going on down there in Orlando, Florida. Be very, very interesting. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey, if you're just tuning in, the big news, Dennis Lynn, the Athletic reporting, the Padres are listing on offers for Nick Pivetta and for Jake Cronenworth. Austin Prather, Coach, I started listening to you way back when you were at 1090. I remember coming in the studio and meeting you. I've always enjoyed your show. Keep up the good work. Well, Austin, we'll keep it up the best we can, man. We're trying to get as much information as we possibly can. And hey, I still love putting together programs and getting information out there. I'm enjoying doing college basketball. Looking forward to doing the Strike Force. Hopefully, doing the Big West baseball tournament again this year. Just haven't lost my passion, that's for sure. Not at all. But thank you very much, Austin. Appreciate that. Okay, what else we got today? Bolts up. Do you think Philip Rivers should get in the Hall of Fame this year? Yes, I do. I think he's a better quarterback than Eli Manning. Um, look at Philip, and I know the one thing Philip doesn't have that Eli has is 2 Super Bowl championship rings. But there are a lot of guys that are not Hall of Famers that have 2 championship rings, and I think Philip Rivers is a better quarterback. I think he's flat out a better quarterback. I think I don't know, did Eli ever, was he ever an all pro? I don't think he was ever an all pro. How many Pro Bowls did he play in? Do we know? How many Pro Bowls was he voted to? You know what? I will do a little due diligence. I got some time. I'll do a little work on Eli Manning and Philip Rivers. I'll tell you what, man, I'd take Philip Rivers over Eli Manning every day of the week and twice on Sunday. That's me. But I'll do a little due diligence and take a look at some numbers. The 2 Super Bowls I know are going to get a lot of people's interest. The other thing, Philip Rivers hadn't stayed in the media. A lot of these guys that haven't gotten the Hall of Fame, they're out in the media and they stay in the media. And after a period of time, I mean, like Jimmy Johnson. Well, Jimmy Johnson had less than 100 wins. And I know he had his 2 Super Bowl wins, but he had less than 100 wins as a head coach in the National Football League. But he was on Fox forever, guys, Troy Aikman's always talking about him, and Michael Irvin and Emmett Smith, everybody, how great a coach he was in that. He won less than 100 games. Marty Schottenheimer, and you can say what you want about Marty, he won 200 regular season games. His postseason record wasn't good. But those 200 wins have to count for something. But I'm not saying Jimmy Johnson doesn't belong in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But if he wouldn't have gone right into TV after he was coaching, I don't think he'd have made it. I really don't. I think keeping guys out there in the media, I think they are looked at a little bit differently going forward by the voters. That's my take. But I'd take Philip Rivers. If I was drafting a quarterback, I'd be drafting Philip before I drafted Eli. I think that's very fair. That's not taking a shot at Eli because he didn't want to be a Charger. I think Philip Rivers is a better quarterback. I really do. Philip's coaching high school ball, and Eli's doing the Manning cast and doing Danny DeVito commercials, which are good. I like Eli Manning. You know that I actually interviewed Eli Manning? The year that those guys came out, this is unbelievable. I interviewed Eli Manning on a phone interview, and I also interviewed Philip Rivers that year. Yeah, believe it or not. And Roethlisberger, I couldn't get. I was trying to get Roethlisberger. Remember, Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and Philip Rivers all came out the same year. And I was fortunate enough to interview Eli, who was fantastic, by the way, and really, really cordial, really nice guy. And Philip Rivers was great. A little known, I didn't know Philip was going to end up in San Diego. But I got an opportunity to interview both of those guys for about 10 minutes, and I ran them on my show when I was on, I think we were on 1090 at that point. I can't remember what year they actually came out, but it was great. It was great. But thank you very much. And I'll have some numbers for you on Wednesday. So make sure you tune in. We'll get to that on Wednesday. Okay, what else we got? That's it. All right, man. What a show, huh? Did I lay it on the line? Now, again, if you're tuning in, Dennis Lynn from the Athletic Reporting, Nick Pivetta, and Jake Cronenworth. Padres are listening to other ball clubs regarding those two gentlemen. So who knows? Maybe AJL pulled the trigger early in the winter meetings. Winter meetings run through Wednesday. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Whether you've watched one show or two shows or 100 shows, please subscribe. Please like and please share. Also, if you'd like to be a part of our Gold Glove package, help support the channel, $2.99 a month for our Gold Glove membership. And a reminder, I'll be back in on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. and we'll have the latest and greatest from the winter meetings in Orlando, Florida. And I promise I'll get that matchup between Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. We'll talk about that on Wednesday as well. Until then, Coach John Kentera, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.